Don't go thinking that I got it all figured out because this is proof that it took me a very, 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 very long time to even get to this position and I still feel like a mess. But I have a plan these days. And back then I did not. So let me just tell you a little bit of the story of how I first started kind of figuring out these different hacks and things like that. It all had to come from experience, right? I lived in an apartment with 5 roommates, 2 dogs, and a cat. That was the first apartment I ever had my name on a lease on. The first ever apartment I lived in, I was sharing a studio with a best friend from back home that I grew up with. We were sharing a studio close to the school that we were going to downtown. And honestly, I feel like looking back, first of all, 10 out of 10 do not recommend sharing a studio with anybody. And then from there, I lived in the East Village with 2 girls. It was 3 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. That apartment we absolutely wrecked. We were subletting. And when I got to my own apartment, I was like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing." And I was faced with this feeling of, wow, am I lazy? I have no direction right now. All I know is that I have a goal in mind, but I have no idea how to get there. I have no idea what's going to work and what isn't. And I was feeling like I was above certain things. I was like, "Ah, I don't want to be like a full time waitress because if you're a full time waitress, then you're not going to have any time to do your art." But I was like, girl, you have no money to do your art. It costs money to make what you want to make. It costs money for studio time. You don't have a microphone. All I had was my cell phone that barely freaking worked because I broke it every other day. So I really had no direction. And I just kind of started gigging and I started working at low grade restaurants. And let me tell you, there are things that I've done, that I've tried, that I'm not proud of. But hey, I'll try anything once. And I do, and as much as I look at those things as like, "Ugh," I look back at those things I've done and I feel a little embarrassed. I'm glad I did them. I am. I'm so glad I did them. I'm glad I watched people around me that did them and succeeded in the things that I didn't feel comfortable with. I'm glad that I can have discernment on what's real and what's not, and what works and what doesn't, and what's safe and what isn't, and what reality that I wanted to choose to live, because all that glitter is not gold. And I learned that in a lot of difficult ways. I'm gonna go through all my weird jobs. Are you ready?